Hey, everybody, welcome to Marcy in the Middle. We got a special episode. It's actually our first episode of season two, and we have got a celebrity in the house. Yeah.
I don't
the,
know about that.
yeah, we know she is beautiful and smart and crazy talented. And probably most of you know that she is on this season of The Voice, Miss Jordan.
Hey, good to be here, man. Good to be here.
Hey, thanks for taking some time. Jordan is actually, I believe, in between a sound check and a live performance tonight.
That's
Uh,
right.
she was gracious to hop on and share a little bit of her story with us. Um, well, Jordan, kind of the premise of the podcast is I feel like women, especially, and men, we have all kinds of feelings, and sometimes we feel like we're the only ones that either go through a certain circumstance or maybe
Of
feel
course.
some kind of way about something.
Of
Uh,
course.
and so I have been very fortunate to bring on a lot of guests who have been gracious to share their stories and kind of tell how they got through some of their hard times and how they celebrate the good times. And I kind of wanted to do that with you.
Of
Uh,
course, man. That sounds great.
yeah. So you're known as the woman in black.
That's right.
I've known you since you existed.
Yeah, yeah. I believe it, man. Most everybody from Atoka, Oklahoma has known me since I was the baby in black.
About the baby in black. Yeah, your family is well known and loved, and you started out in Atoka.
Yeah.
I'm going to just kind of let you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about growing up and how you got to where you are now?
Well, that's a very long story, and I feel like I've lived about 10 lives over the course of that span. I was born in Atoka, Oklahoma, and, my parents are pastor and pastor's wife. So I was a preacher's kid growing up, Lord help us. And that's where I learned how to play guitar. That's how I learned how to get whippings because Lord knows I was always trying to make everybody laugh, and especially during the as we call them, the Sunday special. Usually there was a 90-year-old old lady up there singing "How Great Thou Art" with a vibrato like this, and that was just my time to shine, if you ask me. So I learned how to and how not to get whippings, being in a Sunday Baptist church. Um, and as a kid, I like to say, I'm about dumb as a sack of rocks. I was always crying over my math homework. I was no good in school, so I figured out really quick. I wasn't going to cure cancer, build bridges, or do anything that was particularly beneficial to society. But I was pretty good at guitar, so I thought, Jordan, if you ever have a shot at being anything in this world, you probably ought to get real good at that guitar. So I did, and that was my main focus. I never dreamed of being a singer, really, or an artist. That wasn't in the cards for me. I was born with a birth defect that affected my vocal cords. And so I actually had a 1 octave range for most of my life. And I was always in pain and was very hoarse. So being a singer wasn't it, but I thought I could be a pretty good guitar player. That said, I moved to Nashville in my early 20s after a stint of being homeless, jobless, carless, and really had nowhere but up to go. Moved to Nashville, started playing guitar for some people, and ran across a voice coach that diagnosed my voice problems. Found out that I could actually start therapy and getting treated. So, over a 2 year span, I started getting treated. Found out I didn't have just 1 octave, I had 5 octaves, and I could sing, and that changed my future. So, here we are. That's a very, very short recap of how I got from Atoka, Oklahoma to now being a full time musician and being on The Voice.
Okay, that is great. It's funny how sometimes we put limitations on ourselves that we find out later really weren't limitations at all. Sounds like that was what happened to you.
Story of my life.
That's right. Well, we're glad you did not give up. Um, so you were playing guitar. How did you come into singing? Did
Well, again, like I said, I always did sing because that was always in me. I always wanted to, but again, it was painful. It was very limited. I was always hoarse. And so, I was always in a state of frustration when I was singing up until I got diagnosed and started getting treated for the problems that I was having. And once I started getting to the point where I'm like, hey, you know what? I actually could sing maybe if I wanted to. I called a very, very good friend of mine named Kevin Brandt, and he's been in the business for 30 years. He's a dear friend of mine, and I knew that he would shoot me straight. So I remember the exact moment I remember where I was, what highway I was driving on when I called him. And I said, Kevin, I got a very serious question to ask you, and I want you to be just as honest as you can be. And he said, sure, shoot. And I said, do you think I have what it takes to try and be a recording artist?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't hesitate. He said, absolutely. And that was all I needed. And that was the moment that I started pursuing it with everything I had. And here we are. And I'm still pursuing it with everything I have. And doors are just now starting to open. And it's been a pretty crazy adventure so far.
That's great. Did you move to Nashville? How old were you when you moved? I know you probably said this, but I'm old.
No, no, no. I was 24 when I moved.
So you've almost been there about 10 years?
Getting right close to 10 years. Yes, ma'am. And they say it's a 10-year town, so I'm due for some good things.
You have earned it. Well, you see a lot of people who might be a good singer, or they might be good on an instrument, or they might write, but it is much more rare to find somebody that's got all of that. And you have all of that. And not that I'm a professional in the music industry, but I told you before we started, I've just listened to all of your songs on Spotify on my drive from Texas back home, and they're fantastic.
Man, thank you so much.
The writing, the delivery, the musical performance is great, and I love it because it is what you see in your music is you.
Yeah.
And sometimes in the business you got to sing stuff that's not you, or pretend to be something you're not.
Yeah, early on in my artist endeavor,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of the case. There's always a getting to know yourself process when you're coming into your artistry, and you write hundreds of songs, and then trying to cherry pick those ones that most accurately represent you as an artist. I cut a project early in my artist career that, they were great songs and they were great recordings, but literally we spent probably about $10,000 on that project, only for me to listen to the final thing and go, this ain't it. And the people that helped me invest in those recordings wanted to wring my neck, but I said, it's just, this is not the personality, this is not the woman that I want to present to the world. And so we scrapped the whole project, and to this day nobody has ever heard those recordings. And I just said, I think we got to go darker, I think we got to go edgier. And we've only continued to evolve that woman in black energy. And so it is a process to get your sound where it's just right and get those songs that really say what you want to say.
Yeah, I think so too. It honestly takes you, no matter what business you're in, a little bit of living life on your own to even know who you are. Like,
oh yeah, listen, in your 20s, you have no idea who you are. All you know is that you are pretty much garbage, and you're just trying to get out of being garbage before you hit 30 so that it doesn't stick forever.
That's right. Listen, you're not garbage, but yes, we do often feel like, what is this?
Oh, we're all hot messes. Our mental health is probably at its lowest in our 20s. We're broke. It's like, I call it second puberty. It really is, because when you're a teenager, you're just trying to get to be a grown up, and then when you're in your 20s, you're a grown up, but you're not functioning. And it's so hard being in your 20s. And thank God I'm out of them now. I'm 33 years old, and I finally got some money in the bank, and I'm divorced, and I'm doing great. And so yeah, it takes a while to get to know who you are and to be brave enough to stick to that person. And pretty much, I don't know if you cuss on this show, but say to hell with everybody who don't like you.
Yeah, it really does. And it is, I think, as you're really coming in to your own and finding these new opportunities, that authenticity really comes across. And I'm really glad it comes across on TV, because you just get such a small piece that I feel like on especially on your blind audition, I was just like, she's her. And we got 5 minutes, but we got a solid 5 minutes that was legit. And
that's right.
I really think you're going to have an opportunity, and I appreciate, because you've been around Atoka the last few days.
Yeah, I have. I've been spending a lot of time down there in my hometown, just hitting up all the places that have popped up that I haven't known about and spending some time there. But yeah, it's funny whenever you're walking onto any new setting, whether it's, maybe a new label that you're interviewing, or you're walking onto a TV show, people that don't know you and haven't been on the journey with you, that don't know your brand and don't know that you know who you are.
Yeah.
They're so quick, to try to define you for yourself, and you really have to stick to your guns and say, no, I ain't going to wear that. No, I ain't going to sing that. This is who I am. You're either going to get on board or you're going to keep walking. You got to do that. And even, some other TV shows and some other things that I've been a part of, they're real quick to try to tell you who you are, and you just gotta know, and you gotta stick with it, and your audience will appreciate it over time.
Yeah, I think so too. You mentioned mental health, and then some of the struggles that you had, like early on, as you in your early 20s, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to dig into your private business, but I do want you to speak to some of those, if you don't care to share what some of those were and what you kind of came out of that learning, because I think there's a lot of people listening that might be in a hard spot.
Sure.
And like right now, we're seeing the fruit of all your work, but there's a lot behind that.
So in my early 20s, I went through a depressive episode, a very, very dark depressive episode that, I'm just now 13 years later really figuring out where it came from and why it happened. But it lasted the better part of a year. And it was such a dark place that I would literally just go to bed exhausted and crying and hurting on the inside. And I would wake up, open my eyes, and just pray that it would be gone. And it would just be sitting there at the foot of my bed waiting on me. And it would just literally just latch onto me the second that I woke up. And I drug that depression and that darkness around me for the better part of a year, and it was miserable. And there was even a point, if you just want to get super real here, I hit a point where I couldn't take anymore, and I locked myself in a bedroom with a firearm, and I made a last ditch phone call to a family member because I didn't want to do it, and I wanted somebody to talk me out of it. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness that family member answered the phone. I said, hey, I'm locked in my room with a shotgun right now, and I need you to give me a reason not to. And they did. They talked me out of that room. They said, hey, just stay on the phone with me. I want you to walk into your car and start it. They literally just walked me through step by step. All right, now get in your car, start your car, put your car in drive. And they talked to me the whole 3 hours to their house. And I drove 3 hours to their house, and then they let me live with them for 6 months while they just rehabilitated me and surrounded me and kept an eye on me until I got through that. Turns out I went to a doctor, and I had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which is just basically bipolar, but it's a quicker spectrum. Bipolar, you can go through months of depression and then months of mania. Borderline, the spectrum goes quicker. You can hit a super depressive episode for a few hours and then spike up and be manic for another part of the day. And so the mood swings are rapid, and they're also the moods that you feel. It's like times 100. If you're happy, you are happy times 100. If you're sad, you are sad times 100. And I still deal with those extremes. And it's been a journey to learn myself and to learn what triggers certain things and how to work through certain things whenever it's inconvenient and you're about to walk into a huge meeting and you are depressed and you don't feel good and you don't want to be there. It's been an ongoing thing, and it's tough, but that's the cards I was dealt.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's true for so many people. And, when I was younger, and even when you were younger, honestly, you didn't talk about that.
No.
And we both grew up in very faith-centered parts of the world, which I still have a faith, and I believe you may too. I'm not going to speak for you, but that was one of those things where people had strong feelings about that. Well, you must not be doing something right. Well, you must, what's your problem? And I'm like, no, you can love Jesus with all your heart, and he's absolutely crazy about you, and you can still have a really, really hard time. And it's okay to go get some medicine and to see a counselor and to surround yourself with a community that is safe and encouraging. And Jesus is happy for you to do that. Like,
Right.
um,
And
so,
that definitely, that works for some people. I did have a faith at one point that I tried to lean on very heavily, and that faith didn't come through for me, and that depression didn't lift without a lot of counseling and a lot of medication. And so that was kind of one of the beginning things for me that caused me to say, you know what, that's probably not a worldview that I can embrace, because when I needed it the most, it didn't show up for me. Prayers weren't answered. I kept suffering and kept waking up in the dark. And so I tend to lean more toward the logical and the physical and the scientific things that can be um, proven and that have results. But, to each their own. And to
yeah,
some, that faith is everything. And so, but
yeah,
bottom line, you have to find what works for you, and you have to find a support system, and you have to literally just keep waking up every day. And if something that you did yesterday didn't work, you try something new today, and then you try something new the next day, and eventually you're going to find a straight away, and it's going to work for you. And that's all I can tell anybody going through that, is you just got to keep waking up and keep trying.
yeah. Well, and I think probably what saved you, what you would, I believe you've just alluded to, that saved you is you reached out,
Mm-hmm.
which is hard. I can't imagine how hard that was to
Yeah.
make a phone call, because again, that we're just raised to kind of
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
bootstraps and go. And I'm like, that is not how we were created to live well.
That's right. And I had a horde of Christian, well-meaning Christians that told me that it was because I had a demonic influence in my life, or that I had unconfessed sin, or that I had some sort of stronghold. I can't express enough the hurt and the long-term trauma that I experienced from well-meaning Christians told me that what I was experiencing physiologically and chemically was something that I was doing wrong to make God mad at me. And I would, just like to use my platform momentarily to say that if you're currently struggling with mental health and you've got people telling you that it's your fault and that you're not spiritual enough, or that you're in sin, or that you have some sort of demonic stronghold, that's absolute bull. And you need to go get a real professional and get real advice and get real medication and get real help, because it's not your fault. You can't pray it away. You can't be holy enough, you can't be good enough to all of a sudden not have depression. You've got to go seek real answers, and don't let anybody demean you that way.
I think, yeah, I think there are healthy churches, which I am a part of now, and
Mm-hmm.
that acknowledge all that. Like,
Yep.
there's just, most things aren't as black and white as sometimes we want them to be. Uh,
Right.
and
Yeah,
you,
there's good middle ground in there, but just if you're in one spectrum or the other, where you
yeah,
completely believe that, church and faith is the only answer, you're probably going to suffer a lot, because there's good practical medication and solutions that can be tapped into, but you don't want to go sometimes as far on the other spectrum where you believe in nothing, and you're hopeless.
yeah,
So you just have to find that place that works for you.
you absolutely do. And, I'm 50, almost 52, about 20 years ahead of you. And just like we said earlier, keep learning yourself, and you keep learning about the world and God, and you just learn a lot with every year. And I think it always looks like, oh, those people have it all together. And I'm like, well, they probably don't. Or if they do, they've done a lot of hard work. And I don't mean to say that people can't have it together, because you can be healthy and you're still going to have some really good days and some really bad days.
Part of being human.
Part of being human. But if you can find a community that supports you and helps you in that, do it, because there is help. There is help available.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
and I'm so glad that you reached out and pushed on, because I'm sure now, even though, like we said, there's no magic that waves it away, you're still probably dealing with some of that, and
Yeah.
might forever,
Hmm.
but just to keep going.
That's right.
Keep going.
And I will say, too, there's definitely hope, because at this point in my life, the mental health struggles that I dealt with in my 20s, compared to where it was in my 20s right now, it's so small and it's so contained, and I know myself so well now that I can almost get ahead of it and know when my body is trying to go into a certain reaction or a certain mindset, and I can get ahead of that. There is hope. It really does get so much better as you get older. assuming that you are diligent in caring for yourself and continuing to educate yourself and to become self-aware.
And get out
Really
of
gets much
toxic,
better.
get out of toxic situations, whatever that may be, whether it be a dating relationship or a family relationship or a church
Right.
or work,
Right.
because you want to be grown, but
Yeah.
it also means you have to advocate for yourself, which I think is tricky. And I think it's harder for women. Maybe I think it's getting better for women. Probably women your age have an easier time than women my age, and probably teenagers now may have an easier time than you. But
Sure.
we have to encourage one another and look forward and share. I feel like there's so much
Absolutely.
power in sharing your story that
Absolutely.
you don't know who you're going to help. And even you as an artist from the stage, you're really doing a lot of that from the stage.
Yeah, well, I mean, my fans call me the woman in black, and so much of this, um, I call it a persona because the woman in black who stands on stage and looks like she could literally take on a pack of pit bulls. You know, that the way that I dress and the way that I present myself on stage as an artist is a physical representation of the ultimate strength that women have in us. I had a man in my life about 10 years ago who was not very nice to me. I'll just say it that way. And he had belittled me, beat me down to where I had about this much self-esteem, and gaslit me and just truly convinced me that I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
And the day that I just decided that I'd had enough, and I looked that person in the eye and I said, "You have no right, and you will never speak to me this way again. You will never manipulate me again." I stood up, told him he was a piece of what. And that was the day for me that the woman in black was born. I realized there was another part of myself that I really needed to get to know and really needed to feed and let grow. And so I kind of call this my bat suit. Bruce Wayne, Jordan, that sits at home with her mama in her pajamas and likes to get her back scratched and likes to watch TV. That's just plain old Jordan. But whenever this bat suit comes on, I'm representing to women everything we're capable of, because that's the person I need to tap into when I need her the most.
Yes. Yeah. The can-do spirit.
That's right.
I love it. Well, okay. So you've been through divorce, you have fought through depression. If you were going to look back at yourself and just talk to young Jordan, what would you tell her? What would you tell her now, or what do you wish someone had told you then?
Well, some things that first come to mind, I probably won't say out loud, but I suppose if I could gloss over and make it very broad, I would say don't ever let somebody take away your critical thought.
Mm-hmm.
Think for yourself, ask questions, and if somebody tells you to stop thinking about it, keep thinking, because that probably means there's something you need to look into. So don't ever let anybody tell you what to think, how to behave. You need to learn yourself, be yourself, and love that woman because you are absolutely deserving and worthy of love and good things. Do not feel guilty for being successful or wanting to be successful. And if anybody tries to make you feel bad about that, tell them they can kick rocks. That's what I'd tell her.
Those are the people that are not invited to stay.
That's right. That's right.
You can express yourself. That's right.
Yeah.
I think we got a song about that.
Yeah, I think there was a little something about that.
Maybe
Working middle finger and a broken give a damn, something about that.
That's right. Okay, so what is something, and I may have should have tipped you off on this question just because, but you've been asked so many things at this point. This is a piece of cake. What is something that people would be surprised to know about you?
Well, again, me being an open book, I can't imagine there's much that hasn't already flown out of my mouth. I feel like everybody knows everything there is to know. But I'll tell you something.
Okay.
So, I better not tell you that. I might get in trouble.
Okay.
Oh man. So, okay, I will tell you this because this is funny. Okay, I might get in trouble for it, but it's funny.
Okay.
So, I love Sour Patch Kids, and I always pick the red ones out of the package and pretty much throw the whole rest of the thing away. So when I was first in the process of getting divorced, I stopped by my ex's house because I was still like emptying things out and still getting some of my stuff. And I noticed that there was a package of Sour Patch Kids sitting on the coffee table, and I said, "Hey, uh, whose are those? Can I have one?" He said, "No, you can't have any of those." And I said, "Well, why not? If they're yours, why can't I just have one?" And at that time, he hadn't told me yet that he had started dating a new woman.
Ooh.
And he said, "Well, those belong to somebody that you don't know about." And I said, "Oh, really?" Turns out he had bought that girl a package of Sour Patch Kids, and I got a little jealous. And so I looked him right in the eye and I walked over there and I opened those Sour Patch Kids, took out all the red ones and threw them on the coffee table. I said, "Now she can have them." And I walked out.
Good job. No, that was a
Thank
good.
you.
That could have gone
Yeah.
way worse.
Yeah, I just never know because sometimes I get ornery and I say things I shouldn't say. But yeah, so there's something you didn't know about me is
That's, that's
I
right.
stole
Okay.
all the red Sour Patch Heads from my ex's new woman.
That's funny. Well, we're on your team, so good for you. Also, Sour Patch Kids, if
Thank you.
you're listening, she would love a sponsorship. She could be the
Oh,
woman.
don't give me a sponsorship. I've lost 40 pounds and that would put me right back at square one.
Do you think you have a superpower? If you had to say you had a superpower, what is it?
Not giving a damn.
Okay. I think you do have that. Seriously. I think I can pick that out of you. Um, I saw you on the Tamron Hall show.
Yes.
I'm sure my listeners may be a little bit older than your followers typically. So I would say your other superpower might be intuition. Seriously.
Ah,
Um,
yeah.
so tell everybody tell everybody about your situation and how it's led you to fame somehow.
Well, intuition, yeah, definitely. I mean, as women, we already just have this sixth sense built into us. We can read bull crap a mile away. And, me having been in the music business as long as I've been in it and been through some rocky relationships, I can spot a snake pretty quick too. But what you're referring to is I was actually almost kidnapped in 2020. I had a situation where I was walking alone on an empty highway, and there was a car and a man that stopped, and that man wanted to get me in that car. And my quick thinking and my intuition saved my life, and I actually held my ground, called for help, scared him off. And as I was driving away from that place, I had somebody come and pick me up. And as I was driving away, we looked in the rearview mirror, and that car had driven, turned around, and came back. And that person parked their car, got out, and started looking for me. And I realized without a doubt that that person was planning on trying to get me in that car. And yeah, that's women's intuition at its finest.
No kidding. Well, I'm so thankful it went the way it did. And
Me too. It could have gone really bad really quick. And I mean, this all happened in the span of about 10 minutes, from start to finish. And I only had seconds to make up my mind as to what I was going to do. And thankfully, it was the right thing.
yeah, it was the right thing. And I think it's encouraging also to people who are well, any honestly women of any age, but especially younger girls. Sometimes you're intimidated, and you are probably naturally more maybe not as intimidated as some people might be. And I'm like, you've got
Right.
to listen to your gut. Follow your.
Absolutely. Women, we get gaslit all the time by our own raising, especially in the South. We're raised to be polite, to
Mhm.
not hurt people's feelings. And in the situation that I was in, what we were just talking about, if I had tried to be polite and not hurt that guy's feelings, I probably wouldn't be here today. Because just to give you a short snippet of what happened, I was walking down this road, a car drove up from behind me, so I stepped aside to let that car pass me. That car pulls up right in front of me, stops, and puts his car in park, just waiting on me to walk by. And immediately a fear came over me, filled my entire body, and I just had a primal instinct that said, "This is bad." So I stop and I stare that man down. He's looking at me in his side mirror, waiting on me to walk past that driver's side door. And something in me told me that if I walked past that driver's door, he was going to pull it open and pull me in that car. So instead of saying, oh, you know what, I'm being crazy, I'm not going to be rude, I'm just going to walk past him, I sat there and I stared him down. And then I pulled up my phone and I started acting like I was going to call 911. I acted like I was on the phone. Granted, I didn't call 911. I was out in the middle of nowhere, couldn't even tell 911 how to get there, but he didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, and so I totally let him know, I find you suspicious. I'm on to you. I'm watching you. You better make a move and you better hope it's the right one. And he did. He drove off, giving me just enough time to call a friend who was 2 minutes down the road. That friend came and picked me up just in time for that man to have turned around, came back, and come back to get me. So if I had listened to my Southern raising and tried not to hurt his feelings, I wouldn't be here. Nope. So we gaslight ourselves with manners. We got to listen to those gut instincts.
That's right. You can be nice at dinner, but you got to look out for yourself when it matters.
That's right. You know, and even like if you're, you know, I mean, I'm a single woman now, and the dating scene is absolutely crazy. You would not believe the dating scene. And women, you know, again, we have to balance this. It's trying not to hurt somebody's feelings because we're afraid for our safety. I mean, there's an element where women have to be careful these days, because if we reject a guy or he feels like he's been demeaned in some way, he could actually retaliate, and we could actually put ourselves in harm's way by hurting their feelings. And so it's such a delicate balance being a woman, and listening to that gut instinct is everything.
Yeah, knowing who you are and listening to your inner instinct, just like you said, you've got to you got to follow it in life, in your career, and in just day-to-day living. Okay, and so you ended up making a TikTok video explaining that or telling that story. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, that TikTok went viral. It's had over 10 million views, and it landed me a spot on the Tamron Hall show. It's landed me on several national TV shows and several podcasts. Tom Segura mentioned my TikTok on his podcast and actually called me hysterical and made fun of me a little bit. He was kind of a douchebag, but you know, I won't hold it against him. But it's gotten a lot of exposure, and hopefully it's putting a lot of good information in some women's hands.
It is, for sure. Very good. Okay, we're gonna kind of turn the corner here, and I'm gonna ask you a little bit about your songs. Do you have a favorite song that you've written?
You know, I go through phases, you know, where, you know, I'll pull out a song that I wrote a long time ago and I'll start playing it on stage, and it'll be my favorite for a while, and then I put it away and there'll be a new one that comes along. And so right now I've got a song called Love Never Gave Me Nothing, and Pam Tillis is actually getting ready to record that one, and it's one of my favorites right now. Yeah. But it's not available anywhere. It's just it exists in my phone.
Okay, and then she's gonna record it at some point.
She's getting ready to record it very soon.
Okay, that's good. This is just a curious question. When you do that and like you somebody's got it on hold, or they decide that they want to record it, are you allowed to also sing it on your tours?
Yeah, it's my song. I've got the rights to it. If anything, I give them the rights to record it.
Okay, perfect. So if somebody's going to go hear you, they might be able to hear the song.
Absolutely. If you see me playing somewhere and you ask for Love Never Gave Me Nothing, I'll play it for you.
Hey, great. Anywhere you would love to perform?
I would love to play the Grand Ole Opry. I've played there as a musician, but never as an artist.
That's awesome. Okay, Grand Ole Opry, here she comes. Literally.
That's
right. That is mine too. I'm like, I always make the joke. I'm like, I'm putting it into the universe. I want to sing at the Grand Ole Opry. If someone is listening.
Yep.
It's a dream spot for sure.
Oh, it is mine too. The Bluebird Cafe is another one, and hopefully we're going to be able to do that pretty soon.
Have you not done the Bluebird yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be calling you. I feel like we don't have to worry about that.
Well, there's a few venues in Nashville that technically, based on the people that I know and some stuff I've got going on, I could make a phone call, pull a few strings, and I could perform there. But I want to do it the right way. There's the Bluebird and the Grand Ole Opry and the Ryman. I want to be invited. Like, I want to have made enough of a mark that they invite me to play. I don't want to do it I don't want to do it the easy way and call in a favor. I want them to want me.
I feel like those are all going to happen for you, and it's exciting to get to watch and just see all of your hard work and dedication, and honestly just perseverance, because just not quitting sometimes that's all you can do is I'm just not quitting. I don't see the fruit right now, but
yeah,
I'm going to keep on going.
yeah. There have been points where I have come this close, but there was just something in me that couldn't hang it up.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're all very thankful that you didn't. And like I said, you know that you've got the hometown support down here. And honestly, you better have the whole state of Oklahoma behind you at this point.
Dang sure at this point, if I don't, then I'm doing something wrong.
No, okay. So as we kind of get to that point, The Voice airs on Monday night and also Tuesday, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's when I've been watching, but I'm like, I don't know if it keeps
Yeah,
going.
it's Monday and Tuesday nights. That's right.
And this is going to air on October 16th, which will be the last evening of the blind auditions. And
That's yes.
so Tuesday night, people, we've got to tune in.
Yeah, because I think that starts the battle rounds.
Yeah, we don't know when Jordan's coming up, but we know she's coming.
Yeah.
So we've got to be ready. And people can help you by doing what, Jordan? What can we do to help?
Well, they can tune in right now. So there's four rounds in the Voice that are pre-filmed, and the coaches pick who moves forward. But after you get to that point, they turn it over to America to vote. So if I make it to that point, you're going to have to be watching and you're going to have to vote for me. But right now, we're just in the battle rounds. And so the best thing you can do is support, watch, share me on your socials, and that's about it.
Yeah. Listen to her music. Go look for her shows. I'm going to ask you this. We talked about it a little bit before, but tell people how to find where you're playing and where they can, all your social media accounts.
Right. So the first place that I would want anybody to look me up is my website, jordanraynerofficial.com. Now, why would I want somebody to go there instead of my social media? My website has my home base for my official fan club, which is Spitfire Nation. There are 3 different tiers you can sign up for, and depending on the tier, it depends what rewards you get, but you get backstage access, you get virtual VIP passes, you get a Zoom call with me once a month, you get videos that nobody else gets. You get 1 unreleased song a month that nobody's heard. I treat my Spitfire Nation like royalty. So you definitely want to go to jordanraynerofficial.com and join my fan club.
Okay. Are your socials also linked on your website?
They are. And if you want to look up my socials, it's pretty much the Jordan Rayner across the board. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. If you Google me and you want to find me on social, I'm very easy to find.
Okay, great. And for the local people here in Atoka, and honestly, anywhere, how far ever you're willing to drive, you are going to be playing in Atoka on November 4th.
That's right. That's right. We're going to have a huge outdoor concert November 4th right next to Reba's place, and it is going to be a show you don't want to miss. I'm bringing a full band, and it's going to be a good time. And stick around after the show because Reba's place is hosting an after party. They're launching a brand new menu item, and they're going to have the bar open, and you might even see me and a couple of other Voice contestants on Reba's stage jamming out in an acoustic jam session.
Yeah, a little bird named Garrett told me it's going to be the place to be, and there's going to be all kinds of people, and it's free, which is great. It is next to Reba's place, like you said, and I believe the people opening for you, are they starting at 6? And then
Yep. Shane Porter will be at 6:00. He's a dear friend of mine. I've got a duet on Texas radio with him right now. And then Kristen Brown will be at 6:30, and she is currently on Team Gwen on season 24 of The Voice.
Awesome. Well, we'll cheer for her too, but not if she's going against you.
Okay. She won't be going against me anytime soon.
Okay, good. That's what we like to hear. Well, hey, I appreciate you so much, and I am so proud of you. Just honestly, your life. I think your career is icing on the cake, but you're a good human, and I just thank you for sharing and opening up and talking about the good and the bad.
Yeah,
because that's real life, and we gotta help each other go.
That's right.
Do you have anything that you would like to say to our listeners, or just a word of encouragement, maybe to younger people kind of coming up behind you?
Absolutely. Young people, stay out of the music business. No, man, listen, whatever you're trying to do, it doesn't even apply to young people. It's anyone across the board. If you got something you're trying to achieve, man, do it. Just stick with it. This is still the America that I grew up in, and it's an American dream, and you can absolutely do anything that you put your mind to. Stick with it. Don't quit. When you want to quit, keep going. Wake up and do it one more day. Keep showing up. And yeah, all that said, thank you so much for your time, and check out jordanraynerofficial.com.
JordanRaynerOfficial.com. Well, thank you, Jordan. We love you. We're cheering for you, and we will be seeing you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.